what I would like to do is to start with a little introduction from each of us here. And, just like 2 minutes, pretty quick. And just start with your name. And then just to keep it fun, what is your favorite time of day to take a nap? And then get into what is your relationship or your history with Dreamosophy? In other words, how are you coming up and showing up here today? Perhaps if you've gone through the wisdom of dreaming process, how far did you get through the process?
Viva, thank you.
And then what would be your fondest dream of bringing Dreambassadors into the world? And if you need more explanation of that, I can give it. Jeffrey, would you like to start us off on that? And if you forget anything, just ask me. What else was there?
Okay. Well, I will. My name is Jeffrey Carson. I'm the former superintendent of CJC and MSI and interim commissioner for a brief time for the city of St. Louis. My time of the day to nap, I don't. I should. I will after I retire. And the time of day, I don't know yet. But I'm going to think it's going to be shortly afternoon. My relationship with Dreambassador, I went through, well, actually, I met Paul and Mike and a few other folks at a conference. And I said, this would be good for my residents. And it might have been at the Corrections Association in St. Louis. I mean, in Lake of the Ozarks several years ago. And so I took this program back and talked to the staff and the residents about it. And the residents said, well, Mr. Carson, these mattresses we have are so flat and old. How do you expect us to have a dream when we can't sleep? So I said, good point. So I had a focus group of residents and staff, and had some people to come in with some deluxe mattresses for the jail. And we actually came up with we went from a 2-inch mattress to about a 6-inch mattress, heavy duty. And I think we had our first class were women. And first we had training for staff. And I think we had about 10 or 15 people to go through the training for Dreambassador. And I went to every class, including the graduations. And wow, I'm thinking maybe we had about 5 or 6. I remember the instructors. We had maybe about 5 or 6 graduations before I ended up retiring. And the last graduation we had was at MSI. And we had it in the gym, the chapel, and they were always positive notes. So I've since that time, Paul's asked me to give presentations on it, and I think I've offered to help on either presentations and or ACA classes or PowerPoint, but giving a little insight here and there. But since then, my fondest dream of what could happen is maybe some animation and short. I was at a presentation by Commissioner Parker, retired director of Tennessee, and he put together some of the things that he was doing. He put together little animations and or movies. And I think that would be a good thing for Dreambassador, to take some of the concepts and make it into a more movie versus a PowerPoint as well as a movie. short stories.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. How about you, Lexi? You want to share with us?
All right. My name is Lexi. I am a hairstylist and abuse survivor. I want to start a company, a podcast, and kind of grow it out from there to kind of help other abuse survivors and other just people who have suffered a trauma, just kind of show them what I've done to heal in my process, and then show kind of other people's process and help other people through their trauma. I found out about Paul and Dreambassador through my ex-boyfriend, who was happened to be my abuser, but it turned out to be really good. I love Paul. I love the company. I love the idea. I love everything that Paul stands for. Paul brought me out to Oregon, and that's kind of how I started my journey with Dreambassador, and it's been a really exciting journey ever since. What else? Fondest dream for bringing Dreambassadors into the world. I love the process of Dreambassador and how it tries to integrate dreaming, and I think that would be a really profound process for people who have gone through trauma to kind of integrate that into their healing process. And I think having people that have suffered traumas as Dreambassadors and helping people who have suffered trauma become Dreambassadors would be a very profound thing to do. And yeah, I am still really new to the whole thing, so I'm not really sure how I'm gonna go about it just yet, but I think it's gonna be really great, and I'm really excited. So yeah. Paul, is there anything else you'd like me to add?
You're doing great. That's just fine.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lexi.
Yeah, no problem. I'm really excited about the project, and I really appreciate you guys bringing me on board. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your openness and for joining. And we're very much in need of young people and intergenerational views. And Paul told me that you're in your 20s. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm 26 right now, about to turn 27 on Friday, the 18th.
Oh, happy birthday in advance.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. So what I'm going to do here is basically lay out what we're intending to do.
What about us?
Oh, sorry, Paul. Why don't you go ahead?
I'm Paul Sheldon. My favorite time to nap is after lunch. Throughout most of my adult life, there have been multiple times a week when I say about 1:30, right in there, I would kill for a nap. I would give my kingdom for a nap right now. And so that's my favorite time to nap. And how I found out about Dreambassador, I made it up. It started out in the 1980s as an idea to share with people about dreaming. I incorporated a company called Dreamway Incorporated in Denver, Colorado. It was supposed to be a network marketing company, and instead of dish soap, we were going to sell dreaming. And worked with that idea for about 10 years. And then I met some radiant beings of light and love in a dream, and they've become my constant companions. And they gave me this phrase, onirognostic wholehearted limnosophy, which turns out not to be something that you can market. All the marketing people said, give up, you'll never do that, it's too complicated. But about 5 years ago, I met Michael Griffin in St. Louis. who runs a telemarketing company. And he said, you need a catchy word. How about dreamology? And I said, well, no, dreamology is out there. Lots of people talking about dreamology. But how about dreamosophy? Because philosophy is the love of wisdom, and the Sophie part is wisdom. So how about if we have the wisdom of dreaming? And he said, that'll do. So that's where dreamosophy came from. And my fondest dream for bringing Dreambassadors into the world is that we create a new profession, like dentist or chiropractor or real estate agent. People go 6 months and they think they need to get their teeth checked by a dentist. So why should dreaming be any different? Go see a Dreambassador once every 6 months to get your dreams checked. And there could be Dreambassadors offices on the main street of every town in the United States and throughout the world. That's my fondest dream.
That's amazing. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. Hell of a dream it is, huh? So my name is Ingrid Bamberg, and Lexi, I do somatic therapy with people, and it includes somatic experiencing, which is a way to work with trauma.
Remind me again what somatic means.
Soma is the body.
Uh,
So it's accessing what we have stuffed in our body because we couldn't deal with it. And our body holds it for us until we're ready to deal with it. So,
wow, that's really cool.
yeah, so we can talk offline there sometime.
That sounds really cool. I love healing and all that kind of stuff. I'm getting really nerdy about it in my healing journey. So that would be fun to talk about.
Yeah, yeah. So my favorite time to nap is late afternoon. It's like I go through the day, and then if I haven't slept well the night before or whatever, it's just like by then it's like, okay, midday, because late afternoon is actually the middle of the day. It's not the middle of the work day, but it's the middle of the day. And that's my favorite time to nap. Paul and I met, I don't know, what was it, about 10, 12 years ago now, Paul?
Yeah, 12 years.
We were both doing things for his sister, and I got on one of the projects he was working on, which happened to be around greening prisons. So I got introduced to the whole prison, which to me, you know, being a white female, I just never had to deal with before. So that was fascinating. But yeah, kind of on the side, he told me that what he really wanted to do was work with dreams. And I was like, yeah, well, whatever.
Dream on.
Dream on. And so over the years, we just really enjoyed each other. And so we've kept in touch over the years. And as we've both gotten a little older, I've caught the bug of dreamosophy, and went through the program with him. The first time, I don't know if I can really count, but at least 2 times after that, with the recent one, the last time going through the whole process. From start to finish, all 18 dreams, just was at the end of the last year. And, you know, each time it just sinks in more and more. So I've been talking to Paul about Dreambassadors, and he was like, well, yeah, I want to get these Dreambassadors, and he told me his dream of how to bring it into the world. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. Now what's the practical part of actually doing that, Paul? And he's like, I don't know. I'm waiting for other people to get that going. Which is kind of what brings us up to today. Because he was like, why don't you do it, Ingrid? And I was like, yeah, great. I haven't the foggiest idea how to do that. And I was reading the very end part of the book. I don't know if you've gotten the book yet, Lexi. But
I just got it in the mail a few days ago, the new version.
Yeah, so if you want to read the ending before you read the beginning, at the very end, he starts talking about how do you bring your dream into the world. I'm like, Paul, here it is. You've got the answer. How to realize worthwhile dreams for the future. And I read that section. I said, Paul, we need to create a dream stream. Paul has had so many wonderful people come into his life that have said, I want to be a Dreambassador, or, you know, these are what I could offer you. And he's like, oh, great, I want that. And let's come back to, you know, I'll get back to you.
Mhm.
So that is what's the start here. Is that your hand up, Jeffrey? Did you want to say something? You're muted. Jeffrey, you're muted.
No, I was
There.
writing.
Oh,
you
okay. I see a little hand up there.
Yeah,
It's on.
my little ink pen. I guess my phone is trying to do something I didn't tell it to do.
Okay, all right.
Smartphone.
I
Yeah,
will ignore your smartphone.
Yeah.
So here we are, and the intention of this is the very start of our DreamStream. And Paul has a whole languaging going on that is a much gentler language than much of what we use in English. And so rather than creating a team and having a mission that we're going to accomplish and, you know, all the aggressive types of things, this is going to be a very gentle process and an unfolding as we go. And with that in mind, we're going to create this together. Now, Paul and I are going to do a lot of the work, a lot of the nitty-gritty detailed stuff. And we're going to invite everyone to bring their expertise in. What do they do well? What would they like to offer? What do you do well? What would you like to offer to this process? So what we're working on right now is actually to create a training for Dreambassadors. What does it take to become a Dreambassador?
Mhm.
So we're going to start with the very beginning, which is the outline, the plan. We want to
Hey.
create it. Mhm.
Ingrid,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna stop you for a quick second. I just arrived at the airport, so I'm gonna mute myself. I'm still gonna be listening in, but I'm gonna be going through TSA, so I may not be able to contribute for a moment.
Okay,
But yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and mute myself. I just wanted to let you know.
thanks for the heads up, Lexi.
Yeah.
Wow, that did make it quieter. So what we're working towards is to create a curriculum. And what would people want to be able to feel like they could step out into the world as a Dreambassador? And what would we do to certify people and bless them in going forward and support them as they go forward? What would that look like? So Paul had a few things that he and I talked about yesterday, a very basic start of it. kind of what we're gonna start with is level 1 and level 2. Actually, I was thinking of it from our notes, Paul, the notes I took from yesterday, rather than the conversation there, unless you would like to put in something at this point, Paul. Why don't you add what you're thinking of here?
Well, I just wanted to focus our conversation on the first of the 3 conversations to constitute a dream stream. So if we name our dream stream Dreambassador curriculum, hopefully we can come up with a name that's more fun than Dreambassador curriculum. But for now, I'm calling it the Dreambassador curriculum DreamStream. The 3 conversations are: what's the dream, who am I, and how am I feeling? We're going to leave who am I and how am I feeling till a little later on in the conversation. But the first conversation, what's the dream, consists of, as Mr. Carson was saying, the animated video short that communicates what's the shared dream or vision, the aspirations, the mission, the values. And of course, each of those can be unpacked into a broader conversation. But really, what are we dreaming of? Where are we going? What do we care about? What are the standards that we use for flowing together toward our shared dreams? And then we're assuming here that this is a hierarchically flat conversation. Nobody is any more important than anybody else. Nobody gets to pull rank in this process. We all have a voice. And so we all own the shared mission and any promises that we make together. And we all can make honest assessments and declare the diversions. Hey, we're getting off into the weeds here. What do we do? Part of what we're going to establish here is the standards of assessment. How do we identify whether someone is qualified to call themselves a Dreambassador? And then there are going to be segments of planning and learning and coming up with new ideas. And more importantly of all of this is keeping a view towards the future, recognizing that we each have a life. We're walking our own career path. We're cultivating our own garden of dreams. And as much as possible, I want to integrate all of that into what does it take to be a Dreambassador. Like, I don't know if there's a hair component to being a Dreambassador, but I would look to Lexi to speak for that. Looking good is an important part of who you are. So I just wanted to create that as a context for our conversation here, that I took literally, Ingrid, your recommendation that we look to our own book and pull out of what we've already written the structure for what we're doing here. So thanks for giving me that chance.
Thank you, Paul. And I think Lexi was talking about the dream of bringing trauma into, which, by the way, Lexi, you've got some company with that. Myself and a couple of other people are also wanting to incorporate somehow that beautiful confluence between the waking and the dreaming life, of the parts of the waking life that aren't so happy and joyful.
Yeah, I have my hand up now.
Okay, great.
So, Paul and I, maybe more than a few months ago, before November or so, I had an employee that had been traumatized by 3 male inmates, assaulted. And I had this conversation with him and her, and we actually gave work. He gave me some workbooks that I've been going over with her for about 4 months. So she was so traumatized that because I knew she knew me, I actually referred her to Paul to have a conversation. And then after Paul had communicated, then we were able to communicate better, and it was all based upon Dreambassador. So, yeah, so I think you know, it actually made me review the whole program all over again, and the what do they call it, Socrates style of, versus telling everybody, just asking a lot of questions and trying to guide, have them to have the buy-in. But she's doing much better. Her name is Lieutenant Cordelia Washington, and she's doing much better. But there is a component. I don't know if it's spelled out, but certainly we were able to use it as a very, and this is, when you don't even know if you're going to live, and staff is trying to get to you to get you out of the situation, is very traumatic. Just the thought, she expressed just the thought of walking in the building started panic attacks and things of that nature. So we never met at the building. We had to meet at a place that was felt safe to her. And anyway, yeah. So I don't know if Paul wants to talk about that or not, but certainly when I reached out to him, we were able to use that part.
Yeah, I do want to talk about that, because the reason that Ingrid became a co-author of the 3rd edition of the book is because of her emphasis on trauma-informed care and growth through trauma and recovery. And this emphasis came really this is before Cordelia Washington. The first group you did in St. Louis with the women, they all said they want more information on recovering from trauma. And it was about that time that I saw the study in Ohio that said that 85% of women who are incarcerated have been trafficked for drugs, sex, or both. And I realized how traumatized people are before they get to prison. And that's one of the many things that incarceration typically does not address, is how do you recover from your own trauma? So much of people's approach to incarceration is punishment. You should feel guilty for what you did. You have to make amends for what you did. Very few people ask, hey, what was done to you that led you to feel so desperate that whatever it is that you did seemed appropriate at the time? And how do we help you recover from that trauma? And so I asked Ingrid to serve as a co-author of the book, because I expected this to grow into a large area of emphasis for Dreamosity going forward. And I'm unabashed at admitting that I don't like trauma. I don't like pain, my own or anybody else's. I want to sing and dance and get happy. I want to celebrate life. And it's hard for me to slow down and be with people who are traumatized. And one of the things I said to Lieutenant Washington when she first called me, she called me at 8:30 on a Sunday morning. And she said, Mr. Carson referred me to you, can you help? And one of the things I said to her in that first conversation is, there's one thing we're not going to do, and that's we're not going to ask you to tell us what happened to you. We're not going to re-traumatize you by asking you to tell again the story of what happened. When you're ready, if you want to share that, that's fine. If you never talk about it, that's okay with me, because I'm interested in what's going on in your dream life. And if it comes up there, we can talk about it. If it doesn't come up, that's fine. Is that all right with you? And she said, oh, that is such a relief. I'm so tired of talking about this. Thank you. And so that whole aspect of what, we have another course called Untangling Relationships that was designed by Dr. Jan Harrell, who's now in Los Angeles. And she uses this phrase, growth through trauma. That the end goal of the process of dealing with trauma is to get to a point where we can look back on it and recognize, A, we survived, and B, overall, it was part of a larger process of growth. And to really emphasize that growth process, which is what Dreamosity is about. That's what the wisdom of dreaming is about, deepening your relationship with your own dream life so that you can heal the dreams of the past and dream up a future worth living into. And so I really appreciate the perspective that you bring, Mr. Carson, and your willingness. You're already acting as a Dreambassador. And for those who didn't know, Mr. Carson represented Dreamosity at the Missouri Correctional Association at the end of last summer to give a presentation on what Dreamosity is about. And I'm deeply grateful to you for doing that. And then he's going to represent us again at the North American Association of Wardens and Superintendents later this year. So I'm really excited that there are other people who are stepping up to share what their vision of Dreambassadorship and Dreamosity are about. And one of the primary criteria for becoming a Dreambassador is being able to pronounce the word. And I still stumble over it myself. Bruce Wilhelm and I stumbled over Dreamosity a few months ago. We started calling it Dreamoscopy. And I said, I like that word, Dreamoscopy. It's kind of like a colonoscopy, only more pleasant.
Okay,
Anyway,
on that
an
note.
important emphasis.
So I'm just going to quickly lay out what Paul laid out for me and kind of a sequential level of deeper levels of being a Dreambassador. And this leads us kind of into what would we be wanting to add in the curriculum, to what level would we want to go. And some people Paul has started with to be Dreambassadors haven't even done the Wisdom of Dreaming process. And so for them, what he laid out is for them to be able to answer certain basic questions in a conversation about Dreamosity, to have clear answers for frequently asked questions. So this is something that we could start off with at the very basic level, that they understand what Dreamosity is, what it offers, what it can provide for people. A second level then would be that they go through the Wisdom of Dreaming process themselves, so that they've been through the 18 dreams and answered the questions and know what the basic process is intimately because they've experienced it themselves. But even more than that, and this may take going through it more than once, is that they've had a dramatic experience for themselves of having gone through the process, that it's impacted their waking life in some way, that they go, oh yes, now I get it. I get the beauty and the elegance of the Wisdom of Dreaming process, and I get it viscerally. And then they take that and they're like, yeah, I want to share this process. I know this person and that person who could really benefit from this process. A third level then is that they start looking into what is dreaming. And they have knowledge. They've done some reading and get some material around dreaming, so they understand how the dreaming process works. What does our mind and body do while we're dreaming? And how does that impact our waking life as well as our dreaming life? And what's the confluence between the two? And even maybe getting up to starting to look into lucid dreaming, which always fascinates people also. The fourth level then is to not only lead some groups through the Wisdom of Dreaming process, but to start to actively attracting people into the process. So they're not waiting for us to just hand them people to take through the process and go, okay, here it is. Here are the people, lead them through it. To them, it's so important that they're sharing it in their life. They're starting to attract other people and because they're sharing it. And then the fifth level is what we were just talking about before this, is to bring their own offering, bring a part of themselves and their waking life and their passion to Dreamosophy. And that might be about trauma. It might be bringing it into the equivalent of the prison systems for wherever their work and their life takes them, whatever groups they're in, to start to share it there. And maybe it's around hairdressing. So having laid out that, what I would love to do is talk to each of you, Lexi and Jeffrey, and ask you, how does this land with you? What are your thoughts here? And what, in developing this curriculum, in developing where Dreambassador training might go, what are your skills and knowledge and wisdom that you would like to bring, so that when we start working on the nuts and bolts and nitty gritties, this is what you would like to bring to the process? Does that question make sense? Jeffrey, could you lead us off, since we don't know where Lexi's at the moment, and we'll give her a little space.
Sounds good. So, you know, it's interesting. I think that the reading process is good. And I know a lot of people that contractors, they fly, they take planes, they drive a lot. And so I think some type of tapes, you know, or MP3 or verbal would be nice. You know, I can't read while I'm driving, and I go home every weekend, which is 7-hour drive. And I listen to CNN, and I switch it over to gospel station, and I throw in a couple CDs. But a lot of times, you know, people like to put things in there that they're trying to know more about. So I always find that MP3s or whatever the electronic information, the electronics that you can hook up to your vehicle and or phone are always good, you know. So, you know, once you read it, then you hear it, and then you see it, you know, it becomes something a little bit better. That's why I'm always talking about animation, short stories, movies, you know, because I could read something, that I could see it, and then I can have ideas of how to improve upon it. But I've been through the class a couple times. The PowerPoints I've presented with Paul, and try to bring in more of a realistic prison view of it. And I have future visions of being really involved with the prisons and jails, you know, which I think are very lacking in programming and sleeping opportunity and dreaming opportunities. You know, how can you expect a person to change if they have no vision or mentioning of a dream of changing? They just vision getting out of jail. And then, you know, funny thing is, I've been here 3 months, and I've seen people get released and come back. 3 months, it's a federal detention center. I'm like, man, you're just talking counting down days of getting out and then get back out. And you know, because they don't have any kind of vision or stability of their own mindset. You know, I always say they dream about the gate, so they come back in. They don't realize the gate swings both ways, swings going out and swings coming back in. So I think at least some, you know, what in this legal profession we call a preponderance of the evidence. So if you read it, you have bullet points, you have facts, you know, frequently asked questions, and you also have some reinforcement visual aids along with listening tapes. That'd be good.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And as we go through developing this curriculum, I hear you've got great ideas and want to bring them forth. And what would you personally offer? Like, it sounds like in developing programs, have you got any experience in that? Or would you like to read over once we get it and add ideas in that we might have missed? Or you might go, that one sounds great, but it's not very practical.
Yeah, I'd like to be in on the developing versus, I mean, the end product, you know. Yeah, I always tell people if you have a big old wall, I'll help you paint it. But if you got little detailed stuff, don't ask me. I can't. I'll have paint all over the floor, the wallboard. So my wife does that part. I do the big part, you know. So I like the development piece and you know, my creative flow seems while it's in the developing, and then by the time you get to the end game, the development is almost too late. You know, you'd have to go back over too many parts. You know, so one time I went through this class. It said that you should have all the researchers and all the possible people you need at the front end of the project. That way, you have more things covered while you're going through it. And even you know, people have a difference of opinion. So I like you know, since I've been through the class a couple times and see it as start in action and the different presenters that I think maybe we had 7 or 8 different presenters. I remember a professional dancer being a presenter one time.
Lauren Beckman.
Fascinating. And then Mike came and presented, but we had a lot of different types. I got to observe the different types of presenters, which was great because they all gave the basic message in their own unique way. And each time got something.
Yeah, we had Cherie Hyman, who was a former probation officer, and
Yeah.
we had Sarah Foley, who's a sociology professor, and me.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had, and Anthony Forrest came in from California.
Yeah.
He spent 25 years in the California system. You know, we had a really diverse group of presenters. A couple questions for you on that. First of all, I love this idea and this approach. And I had 2 ideas as you were talking. One was, would you be willing to be the voice on some of those recordings?
I wouldn't mind being the voice. I know my wife has a beautiful voice.
Oh, she sure does. Well, that's
voice.
drop a hat. I would say yes to that in an instant. She can pray.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
And then the other idea was, you know, Lexi's developing this series of podcasts, and I thought it would be interesting to see if we could come up with a starting script that where Lexi could interview you.
Now, those
and ask you specific questions about Dreamosophy and about your experience in the prison system, because, you know, we started this program with a captive audience.
Right.
Literally. And it was coincidence because I just happened to know some wardens. And so the first chapter of the original book was called How to Be Free in Your Dreams. And so I went to Tim Buchanan at Noble Correctional Institution in Ohio and said, hey, Tim, you know, can we try this out at Noble? And he said, just don't get it on the walls.
Right. Yeah.
No, he was very supportive and still is.
Yeah.
And so, but to have Lexi interview you, I think would be an interesting way to come up with some audio that we could, probably wouldn't have to edit it very much, but we could edit selectively, but that would be a beginning. We're not going to have time today because we're going to be done in 2 minutes. But I want to share with you the 3 introductory videos that we have in the can as starting places for having some briefer presentations. So thank you for all of that. This is solid gold. And
don't forget, I want to go over sooner or later, not today, but later, what you want covered in Texas.
Absolutely. You and I are going to have a separate conversation about that soon.
Okay, good.
Are you able to talk now, Lexi?
Hi, yeah, I just got through TSA. I'm just, I have a few minutes before my flight now. I'm just kind of hanging out in the airport restaurant.
So we're at the top of the hour, just to let people know. I don't know if anyone needs to go, but I would love to hear, if you were listening, Lexi, what would you like to contribute? What about this whole process is exciting you? And specifically in developing this curriculum for Dreambassadors?
Well, I heard where you wanted me to interview Jeffrey, and I would be more than happy to do that. I think that would be a really cool thing to do. I would be more than excited to do that. I really am just kind of like going through the process of trying to figure out how I'm going to integrate it, because I'm still like kind of in the early stages of like, I had an idea of like what I want to do, but not necessarily how I'm going to go about doing it. And so I brought all the study material with me. I'm interested to go over like the material closer and get a better opportunity to really try to see how I'm going to integrate that. But I really think everything you said about trauma and grieving and the integration of that would be really important and really helpful and really great. So I think really my whole thing is just like going through my own process and then seeing what works for me and then trying to contribute that process to help others. You know, it's kind of how I'm going about it, because I'm kind of still learning as I go as well. So
Sounds excellent. And what comes to mind for me is, Jeffrey wants to be upfront, which is awesome.
absolutely.
Developing the main ideas. We will need people on the backside who are a little more fresh to it.
Mhm.
And so perhaps when we get some stuff together, you'd want to be looking it over and seeing how things land with you, or what seems a little disjointed, or what you would like added. So
Yeah.
perhaps that might be the best way to go for us.
Yeah, I think the more I just kind of sit down with it and kind of just see what I think works and what doesn't work, or what I can contribute, because
Okay.
just kind of maybe like naming things, or just kind of like giving it maybe a fresh perspective to kind of get people involved and stuff. And I don't know, I'm big into social media, so I know I can contribute kind of maybe more of like a marketing social media aspect to things as well, to try to like, so that we're helping people, but we're still making sure it's marketable, that sort of thing, but we'll figure that out more, I think, as long as we like go along.
No, we just have regular glass.
Fantastic. All right. Paul, anything you want to add, or is this about a good wrap up for this?
Unless anybody else has anything burning that they can't live without saying, I think we're complete for the day.
For this time, we'll meet at 5, or this evening also. We're going to go over the same stuff. So Jeffrey, you and Lexi, it's going to be different people. If you want to join us, can join us. You can meet some of the other people, but the basic material, other than what those people contribute, I'm just going to present the same information.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll have a better opportunity to probably join the afternoon one, because I'm at the airport currently.
Yeah.
So I'll be able to probably contribute more to the conversation in the afternoon one. And
Fantastic.
is it, what time period, like what time zone is it going to be?
It'll be
The
5
meeting.
o'clock Pacific.
Okay, Paul, will you just send me a reminder about half an
I will.
hour prior?
Sure.
Thank you.
We'll do.
I appreciate that. I
All
don't want
right.
to miss. All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This was a good meeting.
Take
All right,
care.
thank you.
We'll see everybody. All right.
All right,
Peace and love.
have a great day, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Paul, were you and I gonna meet up? Why don't do we want to take a few minutes break? When do you want to meet back up?
Yeah, so you're free. Yeah, how about if we come back at 11:15?
Okay, sounds good.
Wonderful. On Zoom.
Okay, on this same one, same Zoom?
Yep. Yep.
Okay,
See you
wonderful.
then.
Bye-bye.